Hey guys, it's Hunter. Welcome back to another episode of ASKgufish. I don't know if it shows up on camera. Got a pretty large pimple on my upper lip. It's kind of hard to talk. So yeah, let's just get straight into your questions. What do you think of Gibson's new CEO? I'm actually pretty hopeful, and I want to hear more about his concrete plans for the Gibson brand. So it's been a long time coming, but Gibson has finally announced a new chief executive officer. His name is James J.C. Curleigh. My bad, I don't know for sure how to pronounce that last name, and he comes from serving as president of global brands at Levi Strauss. Yeah, the jeans company. In the Gibson press release, he says, quote, "As a musician, I have always treasured my Gibson guitars, and I have the utmost respect for the iconic Gibson brand and those who choose to play Gibson guitars. I'm very honored to play a leading role with this iconic brand." Nice, so he's not just talking about the business, he's also talking about the guitar players. Side note, I do like his style in the press release photo. He kind of looks like Negan from The Walking Dead. So yeah, awesome. A musician, moreover a fan of Gibson, and he's saying all the right things. So that'll set him off on the right foot with Gibson fans like myself. I've watched a couple of his talks on YouTube. He's well spoken and a very good storyteller. Not only that, but he's experienced with leadership at a giant global brand. I'll leave a link to a video where he talks about building a powerhouse brand, where he uses anecdotes from his journey with Levi's, basically a company that was doing okay financially, but had gotten culturally complacent. They had an almost legendary status as a jeans company, but just weren't as relevant as they should have been, especially with the younger crowd. Kinda sounds like Gibson, at least the guitar division. Remember, it was the rest of the non-guitar acquisitions that dragged the company into Chapter 11. So anyways, he talks about identifying the DNA of the company, revealing the soul of the brand, understanding the cultural context, embracing the attitude of an 150-year-old startup, basically taking the strengths of an iconic legacy and injecting into it an energetic and entrepreneurial spirit to engage fans. Now that's a really simplified version of everything he said. I mean, the video is like an hour long, but his ideas on product and how to manage branding are very clear. In my opinion, from an outside perspective, that attitude and that energy has been missing from Gibson leadership for a long time. From a brief look, to me, he's got the qualifications, he's saying all the right things, so I'm really hopeful about Gibson going forward. And while the main focus is on the new CEO, there are other key leadership positions that have been filled as well. Cesar Guiquian, my bad again for the butchered pronunciation, is Gibson's new chief merchant officer. If you don't know what a CMO does, actual responsibility can vary from company to company, but basically they're the person in charge of buying and making sure the right products appear at the right stores at the right times. He's also a guitarist and a Gibson fan, and it's always a good sign when leadership is as excited about the products as we are. Then Kim Mattoon is the new chief financial officer. That title is a bit more self-explanatory. In general, they're the person in charge of finances, budget, forecast, cost-benefit analysis of tactical decisions, that kind of thing. And last but not least, Christian Schmitz is joining as Chief Production Officer. Now this is kind of more exciting than it first sounds. He's in charge of manufacturing, supply chain, and operations, so maybe they can streamline that whole process and we'll stop getting what seems to be way too regularly occurring price hikes, maybe even a price drop on some models, or is that too optimistic? Either way, from conversations I've had with other guitarists, YouTubers, and retailers, these guys are coming in with a ton of goodwill, which hopefully they can capitalize on. That being said, words are just words, and while everything looks good on paper, we're just gonna have to wait and see what happens. Hopefully we'll start seeing some of the new leadership's influence in the 2020 line, though the personnel changes only go into effect November 1st, which is in 2 days as of filming this, and it is a big company, so maybe we won't see the impact that soon. I'm more of a glass half full kind of person, and maybe as a Gibson fan I'm being too blindly optimistic. But what do you think? Are you excited for the future of Gibson? Are you pessimistic, or is the ship already sailed and you just don't care anymore? Let me know in the poll. It is one of the big iconic brands, so everyone's gonna have an opinion on it, and I'd love to hear yours. Where can I get your stickers? Well, isn't this the perfect segue? One of the things that I've been working on is a test run of high integrity merch inspired by the pink $30 Strat, and it's finally here. We've got two designs at launch, the Mola Mola you always see in the bottom right, and the infamous High Integrity badge. There's a short sleeve and a long sleeve for the fall, and each shirt comes with one of these waterproof High Integrity stickers to put on your own guitars or laptop or face or whatever, I guess. Not selling the stickers by themselves because for the amount it would cost me and then cost you, it wasn't worth it. I thought it would be better to just bundle them in for free with shirts. It's a limited pre-order run, may or may not be back, it depends how it goes. The pre-order period is 2 weeks and everything ships a week after that. I am shipping worldwide, took forever to figure out how to do that affordably. US shipping prices are ridiculous, but I figured it out. Yeah, so for anyone on the globe, even if you're outside the US, High Integrity link is in the description. I'm stoked to see where these end up. Check out Bonamassa's new Epiphone, and as predictable as the seasons, there's a new Bonamassa signature guitar from Epiphone. He's had Les Pauls, including a really cool Pelham Blue one, a Firebird. We've talked about the Amos Flying V, so what's this one? Well, I don't know if it's been officially announced yet because it's not on the Epiphone website, but it was on Joe Bonamassa's Twitter back in May, and there are various product pages up like on Chicago Music Exchange. So actually this time it's a semi-hollow, an ES-335. Like we're seeing with a lot of the new limited edition artist models from Epiphone, there's both a standard outfit and a premium outfit. So the standard has a 3-ply maple poplar maple body, mahogany neck, a 22 fret ebony fingerboard, and Grover tuners. Pretty standard bass. But this model also has Epiphone Elnick 02 Pro Bucker pickups, a Graphtec Newbone nut, Mallory capacitors, and a B7 Bigsby tremolo with a Vibramate string spoiler, as well as a hard case with custom graphics. The premium version is essentially the same, but presumably more limited, more expensive, and instead of block inlays on the fretboard, it has Joe Bonamassa's name. Honestly, it's a pretty classy take on an affordable 335. I like what Bonamassa is calling the non-ego version better, because I'm not so into playing guitars that are so obviously someone else's, but that's just me. Now last week I talked about getting an Epiphone semi-hollow in the channel, specifically the John Lee Hooker Zephyr. I'm not nearly as much into semi-hollows as I am into solid bodies, so if I had to choose one to get on the channel in the next couple of weeks and run through the PV6505, which would you prefer? The Zephyr or Bonamassa's 335? Let me know in the poll. Have you checked out Reverend guitars? Todd Evans has a new SIG. I get questions about Reverend guitars from time to time because they kind of fall into that $800, $1,200 range that I like to focus on. But to be honest, I've never actually come across one in person before. What's interesting about their offerings is that about half of them are signature models, including the new Todd Evans Squatch Hammer. Todd Evans is the guitarist for a band called Mobile Death Camp. I had to Google who that was, which shows how mainstream my tastes have gotten, but as you could maybe tell from the name, they play thrash. The guitar itself is one of Reverend's takes on the Flying V, which they call the Volcano. It has a carina body, a carina neck, 22 fret ebony fingerboard with a 12-inch radius. The jack is on the bottom of the lower wing, which I haven't seen before, so that's kind of cool. It's also got locking tuners, a synthetic bone nut, and a single rail hammer anvil pickup. I used to think they were very odd looking, but I'm getting really into these single pickup guitars, especially since 90% of the time I use the bridge anyways. The Squatch Hammer comes in 2 suitably metal finishes, Battleship Gray and Army Green. Gotta say, with the white binding, I am digging that gray finish. See, I'm not familiar with Reverend guitars personally, but I get enough questions that I'm thinking of contacting them to set something up. Now the question is this one, which is clearly more of a metal focused guitar, or one of their other offerings. There are a lot of cool features that come standard on all their models. More obvious things like locking tuners, high quality electronic components like the caps, pots, and the output jack, and also less obvious upgrades, including a treble bleed circuit that lets you roll down the volume without losing treble like you would with standard wiring. They have way too many for me to run through all of them in this video, so I'll just point out a few that really caught my attention. Being that I'm a huge single cut guy, which somehow I managed to mention at least once a video, the Rick Vito Classic looks pretty interesting. First off, really into these Miami Beach colors. Oceanside green is just a great finish for basically any guitar. Visually, the headstock reminds me a lot of the interior decoration of the 30 Rock building, if you've ever visited that in New York City. It's very 1920s inspired, and even Reverend refers to it as an Art Deco masterpiece. Then you've got the humbucker P90 pickup combination, which was a real treat on the Chris Robertson PRS. Then Billy Corgan from the Smashing Pumpkins has 2 signatures, one being a Terz. Now, if you're like me and had no idea what a Terz was before this, it's basically a short scale guitar that's tuned higher. G standard, I think that's what that note is. It's like you're taking a normal guitar and putting a capo on the 3rd fret. It's got a carina body, a roasted maple neck, a roasted maple fingerboard, and a single rail hammer Billy Corgan pickup. Extra strings and tuning low is in nowadays, but I would love to see if I could come up with something brutal by tuning the other way. And the last one I think looks really interesting because it's so extra is the 12-string Airwave. This is a flat top semi-hollow with 2 P90 style pickups, a 5-piece carina and walnut neck, and 12 strings. I think this would be so much fun to have for the channel because I've never played anything like it, and I have no idea what I would write for it. So yeah, poll in the top right, let me know which model, if any, you'd want to see. And that'll do it for this week's episode of AskGufish. Do me a favor, and if you enjoyed this video, leave it a like, leave your thoughts on anything discussed in the comments, and be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. You can also turn on notifications by clicking the little bell. Again, High Integrity merch is now available for pre-order, check the description. All links are below, including social media and our Discord server, which you should definitely join. As always, thanks so much for watching, you've been awesome, and I'll see you for the next video.